Do you constantly feel stressed and under pressure financially? Like you earn a decent wage, you got a decent income coming in, but at the end of the month, you're always coming short. And that creates some sense of anxiety or stress or pressure for you, and maybe even causes you to feel discouraged and disappointed in yourself. And I know I've felt the same way, and yet we've discovered some financial principles that have really set us free from that. Now, admittedly, we're far from being wealthy, but we do have enough to get by, and more than enough to get by, and have completely altered our financial position, in fact. My wife and I took a financial course run by Dave Ramsey. It was called Financial Peace University, and it radically shifted the way that we thought about money, the way that we treated money and budgeted our money, and the way in which we use our money. You see, basically, we took some baby steps, is what he calls them, that have relieved the stress and the pressure and the anxiety from our financial position in radical ways. Totally reshaped us in really helpful ways. The first baby step that he suggests is to save $1,000 as quickly as you can. Get $1,000 stashed away in the bank and don't touch it. And basically what that is to create a little bit of a buffer while you take the next baby step, which is to become debt-free. But what it means is, while you're trying to pay off debt, instead of incurring more debt, you've got this buffer there. So if the car breaks down and you've got a $400 repair bill on the car, you've got cash in the bank to pay for that. And then the goal is to replenish it back up to $1,000 as quickly as you can while you get on paying off debt as you go, so that you're not incurring more debt while you do that. So baby step one, get $1,000 in the bank as quickly as you can. Then the second baby step to take is to become debt free. Pay off all debt. You see, we live in a world today where, for most of us, if we're feeling stressed and under pressure financially, it's usually the result of carrying some level of debt, whether it be credit cards or car loans or education loans, or, there's more and more ways, it seems like these days, to incur debt. And the credit companies want us to, because it's just lining their pockets. But that's not what we want to be about. In order to be freed up financially and relieve that stress and pressure and collision in our lives, then we need to take some drastic steps. So become debt free. And the way Dave Ramsey suggests is using a debt snowball. So just like a snowball rolling down a hill, if you imagine at the very beginning, it's quite small, and as it rolls, it picks up more and more snow and grows and gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. Well, he suggests applying the same principle to our debts. So if you want to become debt free, pick the smallest debt that you have, credit card or whatever that might be, and pay that off as quickly as you can. Go after that debt first, and then go to the next biggest one, and then the next biggest one, and the next biggest one, and continue adding the payments that you're making on those smaller debts together, so that, over time it's building up, and you're taking bigger and bigger chunks off of your debt over time. And work on that. Sometimes it'll take years. So, it's not easy. It'll take years to maybe get completely debt free, but it's so worth it. And the freedom that comes from being debt free is so hard to describe. It's really quite remarkable. Then the third step is to build upon the $1,000 that you've already saved in the bank to save up a fully funded emergency fund. Fully funded emergency fund. So step one is $1,000 in the bank as quickly as you can. Step two, become completely debt-free. Step three, save a fully funded emergency fund. Now, what that means is 3 to 6 months of living expenses. What does it cost you and your family to live on a month-to-month basis? And then you and your wife decide, do you want to have 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 months set aside, and save that up and put it in the bank and don't touch it. That's your emergency fund. A fully funded emergency fund in the bank is the step number 3. And, Dave then has a whole bunch of stuff that goes beyond that. But what I found for my wife and I is those first 3 steps have released us from so much stress and pressure and really set us up financially to be in a completely different position. While we're not wealthy, we're doing well. And I remember a time when we were quite crazy in terms of paying off debt and trying to get our hands around this stuff. We went through a 6-month period where we lived incredibly frugally. I mean, we lived so cheaply. We cut every additional expense that we could. We cut our grocery bill down to bare minimums. I mean, we were scraping by so that we could save as much as we could. We worked extra shifts at work, so that we could save as much as we could. We did all this kind of stuff. And then over those 6 months, we saved $12,000, which allowed us to pay off $3,000 that we borrowed at the start of the school year, but also allowed us to bring $9,500 to the closing table when we sold our house. See, our house sold in a low market. You know, the market had crashed, and you know we were getting a really low price, but it allowed us to be able to sell it and be able to bring cash to the closing table to be able to sell it and be released, so that now we're completely debt free. And the freedom that brings is just indescribable. The way Dave Ramsey describes it, his catchphrase is, live like no one else now, so that you can live like no one else later. Live like no one else, so that you can live like no one else. And it is possible. It's not easy. It's hard work, but it's so worth it. Hi there, my name's Clint, and if you found this video that you just watched helpful or valuable, then go to the website below where you'll find a whole video series dealing with the pressures and collisions that we often experience between work and family and ourselves, and how to stay, healthy and all of that. And we've identified 9 of the most common collisions where, work and family collide, and how to deal with some of those things. We'll talk about how to become better at what you do in your job so that you earn those promotions and make extra money. We'll talk about how to have an open and honest and loving relationship with your wife that actually makes it feel like she's on the same team as you, rather than constantly fighting and working against you, and how to have a fun-filled relationship with your kids that's full of warmth and laughter and great memories, while also staying healthy as a person and enjoying good times with your mates and with your friends as a person as well. So go to the website below and you'll find out more about it.